As a frequent traveler, like most of you in this auditorium, I am a keen observer of tiny details, like signs displayed in public areas in various countries. No alcohol sold to any person under the age of 16, fair enough. You see that in most of the pubs in Britain, right? No food and drinks in this compartment, yes. So commonly seen in mass transit, underground railway. And I have been told, right, don't forget to flush your toilet. It's prominently displayed in Chinese characters in the public, in the toilets in the Louvre, right? And it has become a legend. And lower down your voice and don't shout in Chinese are going to appear, I'm sure, in some department store on Oxford Street, since the British government has announced less restriction on the tourist visa applications from Beijing. And I have noticed this most trendy and fashionable sign at an age of internet, or more precisely, internet or email sounds a little bit outdated in the age of mobile phone, right? So just watch every detail. While you finish updating your status, will gladly serve the polite person behind you. Attention fubbers, a new word I'm sure that will be included in the next year's Oxford Dictionary. It's a combination of I don't know, snub and very clever, you know. No tweeting, no Facebook, no Instagram, no Foursquare, no sexting. Well, a new word, sexting, you know, a combination between sex search, sex and texting. Respect the food, the music, and the company you are in. Stopfubbing.com. So I think the theme, respect the food, the music, and the company you are in. Those two tiny lines remind me of one important word, humanity, when we live in the world of excessive technologies. To borrow a common quote, from the Bible, what will happen to a man if he gains the whole world but loses his own soul? And the last lines, respect the food, the music, and the company you are in. Not just the food. The food perhaps represents consumerism. Music and the company you are in represent what defined what soul means in an age of mobile phone, right? And while you call it a new phenomenon, no, it's not a fashion. It's quite an old argument. First, well, as a former student of English literature, this title and this book remind me of what is happening today. Brave New World, Aldous Huxley. Huxley has more or less depicted a nightmare that would to come, in which man is governed by industrial renovations, when mankind is under the impression that the so-called advancement is solely defined by technological progress. And we will live in a brave new world only when the brave new world is rich with gadgets, with scientific appliances, and all kinds of equipments. So I think it's an old argument that would go back to the age of Huxley. But now, most people in our age seem to have forgotten. Would technological advancement bring about happiness? And then I think the word happiness needs to be redefined or recognized, right? Are we happy only because we are given by our parents, well, teenagers, right? The latest Apple 6 mobile phone, the Apple VI form of our own mobile phones. There are news reports that in Asia, teenagers or children commit suicide because the mobile phone they use in their class is the model number 4 rather than 5, right? So, in a world when a man's soul is gradually devoured by technology, and that argument or analogy would have gone back even earlier to Mary Shelley's Frankenstein. Right? Frankenstein is now being made as a theatrical work in West End, right? And it always strikes me not just as a horror story, but a futuristic fable. It's the earliest science fiction in the history of English literature. Now, this scientist has invented and manufactured and assembled with many components and created this monster. Yet he sits up and then chases the scientist and devours him, right? And that happens, and this novel was written in the early Romantic period, early 19th century, shortly after the French Revolution, when the famous saying, "the revolution devours its own child," was still bouncing on the two sides of the English trade. So Mary Shelley, just like Huxley, was another clairvoyant who would just foresee excessive advancement in technology could just become a monster. All these old wisdoms have all been spelled out and written so clearly on the wall, not just on the wall, but in many books of literature. And now it seems that we live in an age of total oblivion of such wisdom. And in Hong Kong, we have a new word for the new generation of mobile phone users, the head duckers, right? For those who never see their face and see the black color of their hair in an MTR compartment while they're queuing for, I don't know, food at a restaurant, and at least there's no complaint anymore for your friend coming late, because the later you come, the more online games your partner would have played while waiting for you. So I'm not sure whether it is a social advancement or not, bearing in mind the literary context of Huxley and Mary Shelley. Norman Mailer, this famous Jewish American novelist who died, I think, 5 years ago, had held a conversation with a Princeton professor in which he argued that technology is like the forbidden fruit. It's there, and it is more or less controlled by Satan. It is up to Adam and Eve, our earliest ancestors, to practice our own free will, whether to eat it or not, right? So it is argued by Norman Mailer in this so-called uncommon conversation called On God, that all scientific technologies are possessed and controlled and in fact invented by Satan, right? It goes a little bit far-fetched, it sounds like, some Islamic, radical creeds. However, it could be used for the well-being and for the real happiness of the mankind in surgical operation, in aviation, in perhaps promoting knowledge. So it's up to you or your child with an iPad in his hand whether to choose, what to choose to read. You could choose to sink yourself into this black hole of online games and pornographies, or even terrorist information. You could get yourself totally addicted to this horrifying short films of a beheading of an innocent American journalist, Or you could choose to get yourself on YouTube listening to some great performance of orchestras like Mozart, right? And classical musics. But unfortunately, according to recent statistics done by myself, hit rate on Mozart's performance, classical performance, have always been lower than others. And, well, it may have accumulated 10 or 20 millions, but compared with other stuffs, right? Time-consuming, unconstructive contents. Gangnam Style, right? If you call it a piece of work of good taste, all right? Artistic performance has accumulated more or less, I don't know, 100 million. But would the name of that performer, of the South Korean performer of Gangnam Style, I must say he's very impressive, right? Stay in the history of music longer than like Mozart or Beethoven? I'm not sure. So it is up to you. It's a forbidden apple, but it's a forbidden fruit. That fruit has to be touched and eaten, right? And we seem to have no choice because there's weakness in the nature of mankind. But it is still up to us to practice our free will when we have a mobile phone in my hand, right? To choose what to get onto, what to watch, and what to get ourselves addicted. Whether you want to get onto the Wikipedia while you are waiting for an underground train, just to enrich your knowledge a little bit, making use of that extra 2 minutes to make yourself a little bit more erudite, or you want to get yourself immersed in more pornographies, in the ocean of pornographies and online games, right? And this is what we get in most Asian countries, China, Hong Kong, and Taiwan. I've just come back from a trip to Switzerland, and to my surprise, I was taking a daily tram in the city center in Zurich from the apartment of my friend near the airport to the city center. And I counted deliberately on every day in my compartment how many head duckers like this there were in a tram compartment in Zurich. Well, I counted about 1 or 2 out of a few dozens, you know. And 1 or 2 head duckers seemingly addicted to some interesting content in a very small, bright screen of their mobile phone, and others were either reading or watching around, appreciating the city landscape on the street. And those 1 or 2 passengers, you know, were unfortunately Asian, speaking Cantonese or Chinese. So, in an age of Facebook, how ironically the term sounds, Facebook, the word face comes first. In a community of head duckers, we don't see people's faces anymore. So it is essential for most of us to get the face back by just turning your head a little bit upward, away from that silver screen of your mobile phone, and then let people recognize your face, and let the face impress others, and talk to your mother, talk to your friends, and just get yourself back into the human world, just like a piece of jigsaw. And I think only by doing so, we could just break the spell of devilish technological dominance and control by Satan, as depicted by Mary Shelley and Huxley, right? So, head ducking is a bad habit. And I don't know whether you've been told about this big tragedy in Hong Kong 2 days ago. A dog was found roaming on the railway in the New Territories for 8 minutes before a train arrived. And there were, I don't know, up to 100 indifferent passengers on the platform. And knowing that the train was about to come and the dog was to be knocked down, and then someone was kind enough to have informed some security officers, some guards, you know. And then for 8 minutes, the dogs was roaming about until the train came, and then the dog, right, knocked down and killed. For 8 minutes, nothing was done, and the dogs, it cost the life of a dog. And then, right, it caused a huge social storm in Hong Kong. People then started arguing about it. Who should have been responsible? Was it the driver, or was it this indifferent crowd, right? And then an ultimate question just emerged. Why on earth, in an age of internet, in an age of mobile phone, we seem to be extremely quick in reaction with our thumb and the index finger. However, when a life of a dog appeared in grave danger, nobody was quick enough to react. It would just take about a minute for anyone brave enough or with common sense to jump down and then hug the dog, right? And then, or push him up. With hindsight, some people argue, someone did try to jump down to the railway and save him. And he was stretching up his front paws, trying to climb up. But it was stopped by other people. The dog would bite, right? Don't get bitten by this dog. And how on earth would the dog bite someone if he knew his own life was in danger? If he knew that someone was trying to grab him up, you know, as a savior? I think we live in an age of utter ignorance. With all these head duckers, with their minds absorbed in this bright hole of fantasy, of endless so-called information or entertainment, one day we may gain the world, but definitely we're going to lose the face first, right? This is the face, this is the face, this is the face, this is the face, and this is the face. We get all these signs, you know, smile, right, hearts on the Facebook, but we don't get our soul. And apart from that, right? And I was told it is extremely rude to hide your own mobile phone in your pocket and appearing in a party, right? With a bright patch showing in your pocket. It is the latest form in a cyber age of exhibitionism. Thank you very much.